today at forgiveness. So forgiveness is going to be the topic for today. Would you
Yes,
like to
yes.
start us off, or do you want me to start us off?
No, you can definitely start us up, but I always want to just remind everybody when you come on our channel, the most important thing is that you take something away, but every woman, regardless of where you presently are, you can arise.
That is so true. That is so true. So one of the first notes that I wrote was about there's a difference between self-forgiveness and then forgiving others. So
Yes.
there's two different things there. And I don't think people always realize the difference. So a lot of times we just think of forgiveness as as for somebody else, not necessarily for us. So I wrote two definitions of forgiveness. So let me give you what I wrote for self forgiveness. I said self forgiveness is letting go of self blame, guilt, and negative emotions associated with one's transgressions. It involves cultivating compassion and understanding towards oneself despite past actions or decisions. What do you
Awesome.
think about that? You like
No,
that?
I agree with all of it, and all of it is so true because oftentimes we once again browbeat or so critical of ourselves, and the underlining theme is we just need to forgive ourselves. And even with, as I was just talking about with this young lady, I said, and sometimes you just need to hear it. I give you permission today to forgive yourself. That
Yep.
whatever part that you played in it, whether you were consensual or not, that whatever happened that scarred you in life, that today it stops. Give yourself permission to make mistakes and to move on.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. So acknowledging mistake is the first thing that I wrote. So that's funny you just said that. So I wrote self-forgiveness begins with an honest acknowledgement of one's mistake or wrongdoings. This step is
Yes,
critical for self-awareness and growth. So what I
yes.
learned as a psychologist is that it's almost impossible to move forward if you don't have insight or self-awareness. So if
Mhm.
you're not self-aware, then you're not going to change anything because you don't realize that anything's wrong,
Something's
right?
wrong.
So you
Exactly.
have to be self-aware. So one of the biggest parts is being self-aware that forgiveness needs to occur. And then, like you said, being okay or feeling that you're allowed to forgive yourself.
Even in the comments, what do you think forgiveness is? Because forgiveness looks different in everyone's life. It is predicated upon the situation that I'm dealing with. Forgiving is releasing as if it never happened. I'm talking about, of course, first biblical forgiveness, that when we come into that forgiveness, that there is that forgiveness that God gives us as if we had never done anything wrong. But now we're talking about just the worldly forgiveness, that it is the letting go. I think that is the key because it has you bound, it has you captivated, you are its slave. All of that is a part of the letting go process. So you have to choose to let go. And I am not telling anybody it's easy. So please hear me clearly. I am not saying, oh, just forgive him tomorrow. It does not mean he did or she did not do it. That has nothing to do with forgiveness. Forgiveness is restoring your power and your truth and your authority to you.
That
That is
is so good.
oh, praise God. So that is my thing. So when I was thinking about it, and in all the things that we have experienced in life, you're like, oh, I'm not forgiving. And I've had so many people say, oh, I'll never forgive them. Oh, I'll never do this.
Yes,
And because you don't understand that when you choose to make that decision not to forgive, you stay stuck in the situation.
that's exactly right. And
You
you're
never
using more energy when you're stuck.
come on. You're
So
come on.
forgiveness of others, I wrote, involves letting go of feelings of resentment, anger, or hurt caused by the actions and behaviors of someone else. It is a conscious decision to release negative emotions and cultivate a sense of understanding, empathy, or even reconciliation. However, like you were saying, what I wanted to say to people is if you're watching this, forgiving someone else does not mean, like you were saying, that what the other person did was okay. It just means that I refuse to allow this other person that hurt me, I refuse to let them chain me down any longer. So
Yes. Yes.
by forgiving them, you're helping yourself because half of the times, how many people do we have this resentment for that probably forget about us? You know what I
Come on.
mean? So
They've moved on. They've
they
moved
moved
on.
on. And we're here we are carrying this
Yep.
baggage with us. And then we wind up bringing it into new relationships or old relationships, relationships with our kids, our parents. So it's just, again, remember that it takes more energy to stay in a place of hate or in a place of anger.
Yes, yes. And even today, ladies, just make the conscious decision. If you're, someone that's battling with unforgiveness, oh, he did this to me. I always told my sister, I always told my best friend, whatever the case may be, that we all have some place in our life that we can forgive. But once again, and I trust that we have stated that forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. But you are choosing to move forward. You refuse to stay stuck. And if I'm battling unforgiveness in my heart, I am so because then what's in me is going to come out of me. And now you're going to hear, and we all have that friend that's so bitter that you don't like being around him. but there is unforgiveness somewhere in their life that they
Mhm.
had, they have been marred somewhere, they've been offended, they've been hurt somewhere, but they chose to stay stuck and they may not even realize that they're stuck. But everything that comes out of their mouth is coming through that funnel of pain. But
Mhm.
all men are this. Oh, you can't trust women. They so shady. Whatever it is, somebody broke them, somebody hurt them, and then they have not let go of that moment. So they're still stuck repeating that moment over and over again in their lives. And then that's why when no one wants to be around them. They're like, oh yeah, don't invite so and so to the party. Oh, Amy can't come. Because right,
Yeah, I don't feel like
nobody
hearing her. I don't feel like hearing it all. You know what I mean?
right, right. But Amy's broken. She's kind of stuck. So, that's why someone would have to have a real intervention with her and say, hey, you're so toxic. But look, that is an offspring of unforgiveness. Think about it.
Okay.
Because if I'm funneling it
Okay.
through, I haven't let go, so I haven't moved on, that I'm wounded, I'm hurt. But I need to be able to forgive myself or forgive whatever happened and move forward and become the person I'm truly supposed to be without being toxic because I see everything through a negative lens.
That's true. Very true. And I think there's a connection between self forgiveness and forgiveness of others. So
Yes.
there's often an interplay between self forgiveness and then forgiving others. So, for example, individuals who have forgiven themselves may find it easier to extend forgiveness to others and vice versa. Both
Mhm.
processes contribute to overall emotional well being and can foster healthier relationships with oneself and others. But for some people, make sure that once you forgive, that you don't just fall into the same patterns again. Because sometimes, and another thing is, when somebody says, I'm sorry, don't say it's okay. I think I told you this in the past week, but
Yeah.
my daughter was like 6 or 7 at the time, and I forget what it was, but somebody said they were sorry, and I said, "Oh, it's okay." And she said, "Mom, why did you say that was okay?" And I was like, "I don't know, because that's what you say when someone says I'm sorry." And she goes, "Well, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to
Right.
say I accept your apology." And I was
That's
like,
it.
"Okay." And I haven't said anything since. I say I
Yes.
accept your apology.
Because it's true. Because it's not okay. I
It's
give
not
you a
okay.
pass.
No,
I
it's
give
not
you a
okay.
pass. If I think, then it's okay, then the next time I do it, then maybe I don't have to say I'm sorry.
Right? You're not setting a boundary, and you have to set a boundary so that it doesn't occur again.
Exactly. Yes.
Right?
Because I
I
don't think
agree.
I've ever said it's okay if they said I'm sorry. I don't, in my flesh, I'm probably like, you are sorry, but don't do that either. I know
That's
we
funny.
think it, but don't do that either, right? We want to move on. But even with that you have to process it because just because you say you're sorry to me doesn't take my pain away.
Mm.
Come on. Is that
That's
right?
true too, right? Yeah, coming from the other side. So instead
Yeah.
of thinking of it as a person forgiving, what about the person on the other side?
Right.
Because it might be easy for some people to just say, I'm sorry, but that's another thing. So I think that's a great thing to talk about. That was brilliant. So an apology, right? So let's start with an apology. An apology isn't just I'm sorry. If
No.
somebody hurts you or you hurt somebody else, you need to say, I'm sorry, I did blah, blah, blah. So just saying, and don't say anything like I'm sorry if your feelings were hurt. That's not taking ownership of what you did.
No.
So
That's
that's saying
watering it
it's
down.
okay what I did. It's you're the one that took it wrong. Sorry if you took it wrong. And that's not the point there. The point is I'm sorry that I said something that hurt you.
Yes. And once again, where is our platform? Being authentically you. So if I have an authentic apology, then I'm not going to just say, "Oh, I'm sorry." You're going to know one, it's heartfelt. And then I'm going to tell you why. Listen, I did not realize, A, B, and C. But then, and see, and I've had this with some of my girlfriends that we've either, because we're all very strong women, like you and I. And there's times that boundaries may intersect, sometimes they may cross over. Sometimes we may, you say something in jest, but then you realize I was in a fragile moment at the time. And so now I took it, sometimes Michael say to me, "Wow, suddenly you get so serious." Because right there I'm in a fragile spot and he's not aware of it. So, because we laugh and joke all the time. So then there's a time and place for everything. But even to my point, that you have to be able to say that now I realize I'm not going to do that any longer. So not only am I apologizing, I'm taking ownership, but I'm making a commitment to you that I'm not going to do that again.
Mm, I like that.
Because now I've adjusted, addressed what was wrong. I've made an allowance for what was wrong and I've apologized, but then I've committed going forward. Once again, I always say, if I value the relationship, I'm going to continue to grow and mature in it. So then I said, so I'm setting boundaries and say, okay, you know what? I don't need to do that anymore. I didn't realize that you were sensitive in that area. I didn't realize that would hurt you. So now we're growing together without, just saying, oh, I'm sorry. She'll get over, I love it when we say, oh, she'll get over it or she's all right.
Or when somebody says, let's just hug and forget about it. And it's like, you're just brushing it under the rug. It's going to come back up again.
Yeah. A
Right?
Band-Aid on something that needs surgery.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. So what happens if somebody says to you, I'm sorry if I'm sorry if what I said hurt your feelings? Like, how do you receive that? Do you just say, do you take it as they're uneducated or unable
Well,
to?
I take it that they're not sincere, one.
Yeah, that's what
You know,
I think that's what I'm saying. Not sincere.
Yes, and I just realized like, okay, it was just something to do because you want to just move past the awkward moment. Because now,
Yes.
come on, we can do this.
Yes.
Now that you're in my presence, you're awkward. And so because it's an awkward moment, you want to brush it off like, okay, it didn't happen. No, it did happen because my feelings are real to me. We talked about that too. That, just because, I like the way that you said it the last time. How did you say it was something about my feelings being real, even if they're not
Perception's
real?
reality, even if it's not real.
That's it. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Because
And
it's the
that's
truth.
the truth. So if someone kind of comes to me with a side, I call like a side apology, I may dignify it, I may not. It
Okay.
all depends upon the situation, the atmosphere that I'm in. If I value the relationship, or if it's just somebody like I see you maybe once a year.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. That's a good point. So I say going forward, if you're listening to this, whether it's a friend, a relationship, whatever the case may be, that you can forgive people and move forward. Like sometimes I think young adults, they'll things will be like finality. So it'll be like, this person did me wrong, I'm done. But then you have to remember that if you have, let's say you live in a dorm and you have a friend group and one of the people you don't really get along with, by saying I'm never hanging out with that person again, now you're just making it uncomfortable for the rest of the group. And then
Yep.
what do we do? Who do we invite to the party? Do we invite
Yep.
her or her? They can't. So you're not thinking about how your decisions affecting others. So even in that sense, I would say by forgiving someone or by accepting someone's apology, it doesn't mean that you have to be best friends or that you have to tell your
Right.
secrets. I say, if anything, just learn, take it as a learning experience and learn the things that you can and can't do or say to that person.
Right.
Right?
And once again, it's back to creating boundaries because I can hang out with you and never really have a full conversation with you. I can hang out with you where, like you said, that group setting is just us girls because you know in the group who's got your back and who doesn't.
That's true.
You know in the group how you can blend in or not. I mean, and it's easy. You just and we wear so many hats as women that we don't really have to worry about, oh, I'm hanging out with, oh, is so and so coming because I really don't like her. That you can still hang out with the group and really not kind of, have a true interaction with that person because I'm in a group. So in a group, I can hide my emotions if I need to. And I don't like to say it hide because I know we're talking always about being authentic. But as we talked about even last night, as far as we know how to chameleon in and out of a situation. So I can blend in when I need to blend in and I can move out when I need to move out.
Do you want me to
And
tell
talk
you
about
something?
this.
I don't know how you feel about this, but what you're talking about is called code switching. And it's very, no, listen, it's very, it's like researched. It's like a research thing and it's very prominent in black communities because they often have to code stitch or become a chameleon depending on which situation they're in. I happen to have had to do that in the past too for my living in a low income neighborhood growing up. But for people of color, this is something that unfortunately they find themselves having to do way more than somebody like me would. Does that make sense? So now we have a
Absolutely.
whole racial thing that's in there as well. And
It's
now if you're a
true.
woman, you have race and being a woman. So it's
Yep.
like it's like double jeopardy.
Yes,
You know what I
yes.
mean? And that's
And
not okay.
thank you. No, thank you for bringing that out because it is so true. But even with you bringing it to the clinical portion of it, that it's something that has been instilled in
Yes,
women of color subconsciously
it is.
because it is a survival technique.
It's a survival technique.
Yes.
It is.
So thank you for bringing that to light because I wouldn't even went, as far as the clinical aspect of it, but it is so true because you had to be a chameleon to survive. Sometimes you're in a family and you may be, like I'm the middle child, so I say you have the middle
Me
child
too.
syndrome.
Me
So
too.
that's why we get along so good. We have the
Right.
middle child syndrome. So we are the rescuers, we are the authority, we're all of those things. So that even if you're in the family, let's say that you were the baby or the second from the oldest, and you didn't know your purpose, you didn't know where you were, so you've had to weave in and out to be identified from the group. So you were doing it trying to survive as a child, but then you carried it into your adult life, and you didn't realize that you were still in that survival mode.
That's true. And
That's
also
so true.
realizing that people have different experiences. So I've also had to code switch, but I probably haven't had to do it as much as you have. And a lot of that is a social issue as well, right?
Yeah,
So I tell my students of color, because I don't know if people know this, but where I work, only 33% of the population identify as Caucasian. So I'm dealing mostly, so three quarters with black and brown individuals. So I tell them all the time because we talk about code switching often, and I tell them instead of code switching, try to code stitch. So what I mean by that
break
is
that down. I love
stitch
it.
that. Okay, so instead of code switching, code stitch. So in other words, you shouldn't have to become a different person or a chameleon in different situations. We should accept you as a whole. So at first, maybe you're code switching, but then eventually try to stitch whatever it is within your bigger fabric so that you don't find yourself having to do that as much. Because the truth is, you're amazing just the way you are, and you shouldn't have to be a chameleon in different situations. You know what I mean? Now, of course, there's some things for survival, like you said. If you get pulled over by a cop, I don't, tell you to all of a sudden turn that code switch off. You know what I mean? So we're talking about like for real here, but eventually getting to a place where you could be your authentic self and not have to switch up depending on who you're with because everybody accepts you for who you are. But unfortunately, that's not the reality of things. So we're saying that here because we accept everybody. But then when we hang up and we go out on the street, that's not how it always is. So it is
Yes, yes,
important. It is
yes.
important.
Yes, and I think that the main thing is that we were saying too, it's important to identify it for what it is.
Yes.
I think that is the
Yes.
main thing because now that I know, and especially with you just bringing the clinical aspect to it, that I know like I am not the same person on my job by far. I am not the same person when I walk into church. I am not the same person when I'm home. That we are multifaceted for a reason. Okay.
Yes. So this
That
would be more about turning into I like that word. So turning more into multifaceted instead of chameleon like. Because chameleon like, the thing I would be afraid of that is starting to compartmentalize things. And that's not always a good thing either. Because then if you start to compartmentalize, then you can do that with a relationship, with this, that, and the other. So by, what word did you just say that I love?
multifaceted.
Multifaceted. By seeing your identity as multifaceted and that it's okay. Trust me, when I'm home, I'm wearing Jordans. When I'm at work, I'm wearing boots. You know what I mean? Like you have to wear different clothes for different things. So we do have to be multifaceted. We should, including ourselves, be conscious of when we're code switching and try to somehow bring that in. So, for example, my students, when they see me, they only see the professional part of me. So every now and then, if I get like a new pair of Jordans, I'll go in and I'll like wear my Jordans with like I still
Yeah,
wear
yeah,
like my
yeah.
shirt, but I'll walk in and my students will be like, "Oh, look at your." So they wind up realizing that I'm not that much different than they are. That I have the
Yes.
same thing. So sometimes remember that when you're looking at other people, that you're also prejudging them, not realizing if they're in a code switch, right? So it just
Yeah.
so happened to be I'm at work, so I can't be. Now I've learned over the years that I become more my authentic self at work, where I used to make sure what I said, what I did, and now I just give them the full Jamie Lona, and I've learned that they actually love that. So
Thank you.
you know what I mean. But I guess
And
that's the point: is how do we get from there to here? So
yes.
where you're not being a chameleon.
Right. And once again, I think it's one, it's something that I can speak about this weekend, knowing your truth. Who am I
Mm,
really?
that's what it all comes down to.
And loving your truth. So it's one thing for me to know my truth. It's another thing for me to love and embrace my truth. and then trust people that they will value my truth.
Mm.
Please tag me into that because that was just so good. That came hot off the press. But that is so true. And I think that
This is the thing when it comes to identity. When it comes to identity, if we don't tell people who we are, they're going to tell us who we are.
absolutely,
If
absolutely.
I don't, if I try to put you in a box and you're not going to stop me, do you know what I mean? And so don't let somebody put you in a box. Don't let somebody tell you who you are. If somebody calls you lazy or something and you're not, like, be like, what are you talking about? Like, make sure you're the one that's putting out your identity. And identity is more than just, race or class or, gender. It has to do with everything. It's about all of who you are. So, and your identity can continue to change throughout life. I think a lot of
It
people
will.
think
It
it
should
does.
because
It
we
should.
are resistant to change, but
Yes.
change is inevitable.
Mm.
Change is inevitable. If I don't change, I get stagnant and I die. Okay. It was something that even like I said this weekend, we all love fall. We're in this fall season. And the best internet or networking system is creation. That I don't
Yes.
care if I am in Virginia, I'm in Georgia, I'm up north, that all of the leaves get the notice the exact same time and they start changing their colors, making room to grow. Come on.
I like that. Come on.
And we are, because it's like we see splendor all around us. It's up to us to realize it.
That's
But
true.
it's the same thing. So if change is happening in nature, shouldn't change be happening in my life?
Mm.
But we are resistant oftentimes to change because we're comfortable. But I
And
tell you that
sometimes you might be with somebody that is also resistant to change. So you might be
yes,
afraid that if you change, that's going to change how they feel about you. So
listen,
you can't be worried about that.
how many relationships have we been in and they say, oh, you acting new. Come on.
Right?
Oh, you changing.
Yep.
Because what? I'm going to get my degree. I'm changing my hair. I'm changing my altitude because they put a lid on you. And they said,
Yes.
I'm comfortable with the way I met you, but don't change. And I would say that people put
Yes.
you in a box. They put you in the box of how they met you. So let's say we were hanging out and partying when you first met me. We wouldn't even be on this podcast together because you're like, okay, she real crazy.
You wouldn't be available. You'd be out partying, right?
I said, we both be turning up. We talk about, okay, wait a minute, are we gonna be serious? So whatever box you meet me in is oftentimes a box you leave me in, but you don't realize
Oh,
I am
that's
now
a good
growing.
one.
You're growing,
Say
yes.
that again.
Yes. Whatever box you meet me in is a box that you leave me in, but you don't realize I'm growing.
I
And
love
so
it.
when you finally couple grab this, that when you finally open the box and revisit me, now you want to look and be like, I'm new because you didn't grow with me.
Yes.
Isn't that good?
That's
That
good.
is so good.
That
That
is
is so
so
good.
good. That is so good. I had a boyfriend. I don't know why my mom let me have a boyfriend at 13, but I had a boyfriend from 13 to 21. It was the same boy. And I remember thinking like, oh, this is my first love. Like we're going to be together forever. And we could have very well got married. And I still talk to him and everything, he's still a great guy, but I knew that he loved me in that box and that box to him was like stay at home mom, like
Yep.
not. So I just knew that I wouldn't be the full version of myself and that it wouldn't even be fair to him because he wasn't looking for the Jamie Bona that I turned into. So I
Exactly.
had to be mature enough to know that not only was it a bad decision for me, but it was a bad decision for him. He should have what he wants too. So, and if I
Yes.
didn't come to that realization and move on when I did, I wouldn't have ran into my husband again. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And then we would
Right.
have hung out and who knows where I'd be today.
Right. And I think that is all it because encrypted in the fabric of my life is change. Okay.
Hmm.
That when I was created to continue to expand and to grow. Okay. It's the same thing. And then as I'm growing, I am maturing, I am developing. Every day, I am discovering something new about me.
Mm.
That, and it could be as far as fashion. Now, some of them that you may follow me, y'all know I love fashion. I love it. But, one day I can go in my closet and be like, ooh, why did I buy that?
Where was I going with that?
Yeah. Where was I going with that? And it was so funny because I just recently did this. I looked and I said, I don't even like flowers like that. But it's in my closet. Okay. So at one time, I had this little flowered skirt. And I said, and I wore it. Like, but see, once
That is so
again,
funny.
we are okay with change and it's okay to embrace it because if I never change, I never explore anything new.
No, you're right. And what would you say to young women who are afraid of change? I'm
I
often
think,
afraid of change. I do it, but I'm afraid of it.
yeah, well, because of course with my job, in the airline, we're constantly changing. So every time you turn around, they want to upgrade something that's not broken. So, but
Mm.
this is what I would say to that young lady. Embrace the uncertainty of what you haven't experienced.
Ooh, that's a good
Embrace the uncertainty of what you haven't experienced. You're really afraid of the unknown
one.
because it's all the questions. I'm not sure. I don't know. Will I like it? Will he like this? It's like, okay, take it off the table, honey.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just take, and it was something else. Get enough faith to just take one more step.
Yep.
Just one more step.
And what you're describing too is anxiety. So anxiety is it's a future emotion. It's
Yes.
about something that you don't know what's going
Don't
to
know
happen
what's
yet.
going to
So
happen.
exactly. So the more we worry about change and stuff, I just recently had to be okay with change. My research is being held up by my organization. They're giving, I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole thing in its own. But it might hold me back from walking in May, but I'm okay with that. If I get my doctorate degree and I become Dr. Vona, whether it's in May or June or July, it doesn't matter as long as I get there. And I had to
Exactly.
like it was a hard pill to swallow, but I was like, it's okay. Like you're going to be okay. I still could do it next May if I want, but I don't know if I want to walk a whole year after graduating, but that's a different story. But if I don't make it to walk this May, it's okay. As long as I get my doctorate, it's okay.
That's where I am. And that was funny that was my conversation with myself this morning. I'm always like, oh, do I feel like really dealing with that? Do I feel like, oh, the paper. And see, we build these, listen, this is good because I want to express the way I'm feeling this, that
Mhm.
we build these self-made mountains in our lives. And I want to come after that anxiety because I am so over everybody. I got anxiety. Oh my, and then you claim it, my anxiety. Okay, like, okay, no one can take this from me. It's my look, it's like the cup. It's my anxiety. It's my okay, hold up, hold up. Do you really want everything that encompasses anxiety? Do you really want to live in fear and frustration and uncertainty of what may not even happen? Come on.
That's so
So,
true.
so it was just today. I said, okay, I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to pursue the doctor. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to do it. And yes, you will be helping me with my papers. But
You
anyway,
are?
yes. And so, because my kids spoke into my life,
Congratulations. Do it.
oh, yeah, and it's, thank you. I just say thank you because I was kind of like, oh, I don't need that. I'm good. Because it's once again what I just talked about, being content where you are, but it stagnates you because you stop growing. And I was looking like, I don't have to prove anything to anybody else. I know who I am. I'm confident in what I can do. All of the self-pleasing. Come on, I hope somebody's grabbing this. All of the self-pleasing things we say to keep us stuck. I did them all today. And I said, no, I'm coming out of this box, the box I put myself in. And now I'm saying it's okay to reach for more.
That is so true. It really is. I am so proud of you.
Yeah.
I am so excited. And I
Yes,
will
yes,
help you with anything you need, I
yes. Oh,
promise.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, you will.
And there's going to be times, and for anybody else going through this process, whether it's a doctorate or a master's or even your undergrad, I always tell people my mom, I'm going to give this to my mom. She always reminds me, this is temporary. It's temporary, right? So
Yes,
this isn't going to be forever. So you're going to have extra stress. There's going to be extra work. There's going to be extra this and that, but it's temporary. Eventually you'll be done.
yes, yes.
And I'm getting to that point now. So that
Thank you.
works.
And the reality is, though, it doesn't stop me from throwing my party. So I say that to you, whether you walk now, whether you walk next May, you still throw your party. We talked about this. Don't let a cloud of rain come in that you invited because it didn't happen the way you thought it was going to happen. What's the ultimate goal? That I get what I want. I'm getting the doctorate. Okay, then let me celebrate that.
Would you walk the next May if you got your doctorate in June or July?
Probably not because the reality is, okay, let's analyze that. Am I walking for me or other people?
Thank you.
Okay, that's really where I would go with. I said, I did the work, I put it in, it's for me and my family. I said, okay, then I can celebrate at home. I mean, I don't have to do the whole cap. I mean, it's great because I'm
Wait, you
done.
ready for this? I found out today that cap and gown cost $3,000 at the doctorate level. I was like, I'd rather go on vacation.
Thank you. And that's my whole point. I'm getting ready to order you one from eBay.
Dear, I swear, I thought about it. And I'm like, I bet you somebody like wants to give theirs up on eBay or something. Like
You're looking like I'm not doing that, but my point is
$3,000.
celebrate the small victories
You're
in our
right.
lives.
You're right.
So hey, and so it's something that I know I practice that I have to take the time to be in the moment and celebrate my small victories. Okay, hey, I passed that test. Hey, I passed that class. Okay, on to the next thing. And we take life one bite at a time. Because if we
Very
build
true.
the small mountain, it's going to look like it's impassable. And then it's going to look like it's impossible. And then we slip right back into that anxiety. I don't know. Who did I think I was? What made me think I could do this? I knew. Now listen to my conversation. I knew I shouldn't have taken that class. I knew I shouldn't have done that. So I'm talking myself down before I even really, embrace the change. And now I'm
That is
struggling
so
with the
true.
anxiety. Yeah, it's like,
That is so true.
what's
Girl,
next?
that was good talk. We're doing good
Yes,
talk.
yes, we are.
So let's see. Let's tell people what we want for them to do in the comments for this week. So we want you to tell us about your own experience with forgiveness, whether
I
it
would
be
love that.
self-forgiveness or with others.
Yep.
And what do you think? How about for you?
And then I
What
would
else?
love to know, as far as I still want to come after this anxiety thing, that if you struggle with it, that maybe we can put some tools or
Next
some.
week. Next week
Yes.
we could do anxiety.
Okay. All right.
That's a
So we'll
whole
do,
show in
do, a,
itself.
do a whole nother thing on anxiety. Okay. You
And
want me to?
I'm definitely qualified for that too. So I
Okay.
can come from a clinical aspect and same with
Yep.
you, but if we could come from a clinical aspect. So that way we're not just giving people our own thoughts about
Opinion.
anxiety. It's
Yep.
coming
Yep.
from actual, real experience.
Mike always calls it science. Yes. It's coming from real
Science. Yes. It comes from science. That's exactly right. That's
So I
exactly
think
right.
that's good. So we'll keep this one on forgiveness. And that if that's, someone has hurt you and you're looking like, I want to forgive, but I don't know how. Put that in so that way we can give you some strategic steps on how for you to get free. And that's all what it's about. For you
That's
to
what it's
be the
about. It's
best.
for you, not for
Yes,
them.
yes. For you to be the best version of you is what we desire.
That's right. That's right, girl. All right. Well, we're going to end it there, everyone. And my closing thoughts would just be that I hope you are all enjoying this. I also ask that everybody please be patient with me. I'm learning how to edit and not so well in the beginning, but I'm getting there. I'm learning. But I will get better as we go. We're all growing together, right? So this is part of my growing process.
Yes, it is.
And I thank everybody for being here and for giving us a chance and for listening to us.
Yes, yes, yes. And we trust that every time you come on the channel, that you're open to receiving what we have for you, because we don't just randomly just say, oh, let's jump on because we've got nothing else to do. We prepare for this moment. We pray about this moment. We take you into consideration for this moment because we want to give you a word that will outlive and outlast us.
Oh, I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. That is something that I always try and leave with my youth, that I can tell you something. Just one word can change the trajectory of your life. Just one word. because
Right.
words are power. Words are authority. You think if someone tells you, you say, oh, you're ugly, you're this, and the other, how you walk away and how you feel, that tells you that words are power. And so we have always endeavored to not only empower you, to lift you up, to encourage you, but to let you know why you can arise.